Imagine waking up one morning and realizing everything you worked for, your savings, your job, your investments, has vanished overnight. The market crashed, your assets evaporated, and the headlines scream panic. Most people will freeze, some will blame luck, others will break down. But a few, just a few, will quietly move forward while the rest drown in fear. The truth is simple: the next crash isn't a matter of if, it's when. And when it happens, the majority will lose everything, not because of the crash itself, but because they were never mentally, emotionally, or financially prepared for it. People love comfort. They trust the system because it feels safe. They scroll through social media, watch prices go up, and convince themselves that this time it's different. But history laughs at that illusion. Every great financial disaster was born from the same human pattern: greed in the boom, denial in the warning signs, panic in the collapse, and regret in the ashes. We've seen it before, and we'll see it again. Yet, people forget again and again that stability is never permanent. The ones who survive are not those who predict the crash, but those who prepare for it when everyone else is distracted. The most dangerous phrase in any economy is, "It'll be fine." That's the whisper before the storm. It's the same belief that makes people spend recklessly, borrow endlessly, and depend on systems that can crumble in a heartbeat. Preparation isn't paranoia, it's intelligence. It's the quiet discipline of saving when others spend, learning when others scroll, and staying grounded when others chase hype. You don't have to be rich to be ready. You just need clarity, control, and courage. The truth is, the next crash will expose more than financial weakness. It will expose character. When panic spreads, emotions take over, and people make irrational decisions that destroy decades of work. That's why mindset matters more than money. The one who can stay calm when the world burns will always come out stronger. Emotional stability becomes a form of wealth, one that no market can erase. So, build it now. Practice patience, embrace discomfort, and learn to delay gratification. Because when everyone else is running, you'll be the one still standing. And here's the twist: every crash, no matter how devastating, hides an opportunity. The same destruction that wipes out the careless creates a blank canvas for the prepared. It's the moment when wealth transfers from the fearful to the focused, from the unprepared to the disciplined. Crashes don't destroy everyone. They reveal who's been playing smart all along. So when the noise rises and fear floods the streets, don't panic. Observe that. And act only when emotion has blinded the majority. The next crash will come. It always does. But whether you lose everything or rise from it depends entirely on what you do before it happens. Don't be one of the many who ignore the signs and cling to comfort. Be one of the few who build their foundation strong enough to survive any storm. Because wealth can vanish, but wisdom, awareness, and resilience, those will never crash. Would you like me to extend this with a 600-word version for each keynote like you did for your previous speeches? The greatest threat to survival in any financial storm isn't the crash itself, it's complacency. People fall in love with comfort, and comfort makes them blind. They assume the system will protect them, that growth will continue, that the good times will never end. It's human nature to seek stability, but that instinct becomes dangerous when it turns into denial. Every bubble is built on the illusion that the future will look like the past. People see prices rising, jobs flourishing, markets booming, and they convince themselves it's safe to let their guard down. But safety is often the most deceptive feeling. It lulls people into inaction right before everything changes. Complacency grows quietly, almost invisibly. It starts with small choices: the skipped savings, the unnecessary loans, the mindset that I'll deal with it later. Later never comes. People don't notice they're unprepared until it's too late, until the job is gone, the market collapses, and the bills pile up. Then comes panic, regret, and the desperate realization that the warning signs were always there. The truth is, The world constantly sends subtle messages that things are shifting, but only those who are awake see them. The rest, distracted by noise and entertainment, stay asleep until the crash wakes them brutally. What makes complacency so dangerous is that it disguises itself as peace. It feels good to relax, to believe that someone else, governments, institutions, or employers, has everything under control. But the truth is, no one is coming to save you. Every individual must take responsibility for their own future. Those who assume, "It won't happen to me," are always the first to fall. The markets don't care about optimism. They respond to reality. When that reality shifts, those who were honest with themselves adapt, while those who lived in denial collapse. Complacency also feeds arrogance. When people see steady progress, they start believing they're smarter than the system, that they can't lose. They take bigger risks, spend more recklessly, and ignore fundamentals. That's the moment the trap closes, because the market, like life, always humbles the overconfident. The truth is, awareness, not optimism, is what protects you. You can't control the economy, but you can control your habits, your mindset, and your readiness to act when others freeze. Every empire, every company, every fortune that vanished had one thing in common: they believed the good times would last forever. But nothing does. Change is the only constant, and those who refuse to adapt to it are swept away by it. That's why the most powerful step anyone can take right now is to wake up, to stop assuming, stop waiting, and start preparing. Complacency may feel safe, but it's an illusion. True safety lies in awareness, discipline, and readiness. When the next crash comes, and it won't be the storm that destroys most people. It will be their belief that the storm could never arrive. Every crash, every collapse, every moment of mass panic follows a rhythm humanity never seems to learn from. History doesn't just repeat, it echoes with precision. The faces and technologies may change, but human behavior never does. In every age, the same story unfolds. People chase quick rewards, ignore the warning signs, and then act surprised when everything falls apart. It's a cycle as old as civilization, booms built on greed and collapses born from denial. The tragedy isn't that it happens again, it's that each generation believes it's immune. They convince themselves that this time it's different, that somehow they're smarter, safer, more advanced. But the truth is, the human mind hasn't evolved past emotion, and emotion drives markets far more than logic ever will. In every major collapse, there's always the same emotional arc. It starts with euphoria, the period where everyone feels like a genius. Money is easy, risk feels like opportunity, and caution seems outdated. Then comes the warning phase, the quiet tremors that a few people notice while the majority laugh it off. They call the cautious ones pessimists, doomsayers, or cynics. Then, suddenly, the unthinkable happens, the crash. Panic floods the streets, trust evaporates, and fear replaces greed. People sell everything, withdraw everything, and lose everything. And finally comes regret. The same voices that once mocked the warnings now whisper, "I should have listened." That pattern has played out through centuries. From the tulip mania of the 1600s to the Great Depression to the global crashes of modern times. The names change, the lesson never does. Why do we forget? Because comfort erases memory. When the pain of the last collapse fades, people rebuild and start chasing again. The hunger for more blinds them to the lessons of the past. They think new technology or government policy or financial innovation has changed the rules. But fundamentals never change. Debt catches up, bubbles burst, and emotions overrule reason. The past is not a set of old stories. It's a mirror reflecting what's happening now. Those who study it see what's coming. Those who ignore it walk blindly into the same disaster. Understanding that history repeats is not about fear. It's about awareness. If you can recognize the signs, you can position yourself differently. You can act while others hesitate. You can protect yourself when others gamble. Because while most people are busy convincing themselves that a crash can't happen again, a few are quietly preparing for when it does. Those are the people who rise after every fall, who build wealth while others lose it. History is generous to those who listen and merciless to those who don't. The question isn't whether history will repeat itself. It's whether you'll recognize the echo before it's too late. The world is obsessed with predicting the next crash, when it will happen, how big it will be, and who will be responsible. Every expert, every analyst, every commentator wants to be the one who calls it first. But history has proven again and again that no one can predict the exact moment when the system will break. The real winners aren't the ones who shout the loudest about when the collapse will occur. They're the ones who quietly prepare for it long before it arrives. Preparation beats prediction every time because it builds strength, not speculation. You don't need to know the date of the storm. You just need to know that storms always come. Preparation begins with mindset. It's the difference between those who react and those who respond. The unprepared live in hope, waiting for someone else to tell them what's coming. The prepared live in awareness, taking quiet action when everything still seems calm. They don't wait for the news to confirm disaster. They build habits that protect them regardless of what the headlines say. That means saving when others spend, learning when others waste time, and planning when others procrastinate. True preparation isn't about paranoia, it's about responsibility. It's choosing to act today so that tomorrow doesn't take you by surprise. Most people lose everything in a crash not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked readiness. They were too busy trying to predict the future instead of preparing for it. They believed the myth that timing the market or reading every trend would save them. But survival has nothing to do with timing. It has everything to do with structure. If your life, finances, and mindset are built on strong foundations, no crash can wipe you out. Preparation is what turns chaos into opportunity. When the world panics, the prepared stay calm because they already rehearsed this moment in their minds 1,000 times before. Preparation also means emotional control. The unprepared act out of fear, the prepared act out of discipline. When panic spreads, they don't rush to sell or hide. They wait, observe, and move with purpose. Preparation gives you the power to make decisions with clarity while others drown in confusion. It separates those who endure from those who crumble. You can't stop the storm, but you can build a shelter strong enough to stand through it. So stop asking when the next crash will come. Stop wasting time on predictions and start building resilience. Save more, learn more, stay humble, and think long term. Because when everyone else is trying to figure out what just happened, you'll already know exactly what to do next. The prepared never panic, they act. And in a world addicted to guessing, that calm readiness is the most valuable currency of all. When markets crumble and economies shake, it's not the richest who always survive, it's the calmest. Money can vanish overnight, but mindset determines whether you rise again or stay broken. The real currency in times of crisis isn't dollars, gold, or property. It's mental strength, patience, and clarity. Most people believe wealth protects them from chaos, but when fear spreads, even the wealthy make irrational decisions. They sell too soon, panic too fast, and destroy what took years to build. That's because money magnifies emotion. Without discipline, fear multiplies losses faster than any market crash ever could. Mindset is what separates the prepared from the panic. The one who has trained their mind to stay steady under pressure doesn't need to rely on luck or circumstance. They understand that chaos is temporary, that crashes come and go, and that no failure is final unless you surrender to it. The right mindset transforms disaster into a learning experience instead of a breaking point. It teaches patience when everyone else is rushing and courage when everyone else is afraid. That balance between patience and action is rare. but it's what builds lasting success. During every crash, emotions drive the market more than facts. Fear spreads faster than logic, and once it takes over, people stop thinking clearly. They follow the herd, chasing what feels safe instead of what's right. That's why mindset is your strongest defense. When you train yourself to stay calm when others lose control, you gain an edge no amount of money can buy. It's not about ignoring fear, it's about mastering it. You acknowledge the panic around you, but you refuse to let it dictate your decisions. That level of control turns chaos into clarity. Building the right mindset requires more than motivation. It demands consistency. It means reading when others relax, learning from history when others forget, and making small, disciplined choices every day. It's about developing habits that keep you stable no matter what happens outside. Because a stable mind attracts stable outcomes. When you understand that setbacks are part of growth, you stop reacting emotionally and start acting strategically. That's the mindset that not only survives a crash but thrives because of it. Money can be taken, but mental strength can't. Markets may fall, assets may disappear, but no one can steal your knowledge, your discipline, or your resilience. Those are the tools that rebuild fortunes after the dust settles. So when the next crash hits, and it will, remember this, the strongest currency you'll ever have is your mindset. Guard it, grow it, and it will protect you when every other form of wealth fails. Every crash feels like the end of the world when it arrives. Fear spreads, people panic, and the headlines scream collapse. But what most fail to see is that within every crisis lies the seed of opportunity. When systems break down, new ones are born. When markets burn, the ground is cleared for something stronger to grow. History has proven it again and again. Those who can stay calm when others are afraid often find their greatest breakthroughs in the ashes of chaos. The difference between those who lose everything and those who rise higher than before isn't luck, it's perspective. A crisis strips away illusions. It exposes what was weak, overvalued, and unsustainable. It reveals who was pretending and who was truly prepared. For most, that exposure feels painful, but for a few, it's clarity. They see truth where others see tragedy. When the world is blinded by fear, they find the openings that others miss. While people are selling their assets in panic, the wise are quietly buying. When fear drives others to retreat, the prepared step forward. Because they understand that chaos doesn't destroy value, it only transfers it. Wealth, power, and influence shift from the emotional to the rational, from the careless to the careful. Opportunity during crisis isn't about taking advantage of others. It's about seeing clearly when others cannot. It's about recognizing that disruption clears the noise. In those rare moments when everything seems uncertain, new ideas, new technologies, and new leaders emerge. The greatest fortunes and innovations in history were born from downturns, not during times of comfort. Comfort breeds complacency, but crisis breeds creativity. It forces adaptation, innovation, and resilience. Those who embrace it instead of fearing it rewrite the rules of the game. To turn crisis into opportunity, you must train yourself to think long-term when everyone else is trapped in the short term. When the world moves out of fear, you move with vision. That doesn't mean acting recklessly. It means acting wisely with patience and courage. It means trusting your preparation, your mindset, and your strategy when the noise is loudest. Because opportunity rarely announces itself calmly. It hides in the storm, waiting for the few who dare to look closer. When the next crash comes, most will see only disaster. But if you've prepared your mind, your habits, and your foundations, you'll see something different. You'll see potential. Crisis has always been the world's way of resetting the table. Whether you walk away empty-handed or emerge stronger depends on one choice. Do you freeze in fear, or do you move with purpose? Remember, the end of one cycle is always the beginning of another. The crash doesn't decide your future, you do. The storm ahead isn't a secret, it's a certainty. Markets rise and fall, systems shift, and history always repeats itself. But the next crash doesn't have to destroy you. It can be the moment that defines you. Most people will lose everything not because the world betrayed them, but because they ignored the signs, stayed comfortable, and trusted that things would never change. You don't have to be one of them. You have the power to see differently, to prepare while others sleep, and to stay calm when the noise gets loud. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. It's about building a mindset stronger than any economy, a foundation that can't be shaken by headlines or panic. Crashes don't choose victims, they expose choices. The ones who fall were never ready. The ones who rise saw the truth early, acted with discipline, and refused to follow the crowd. Your preparation, your patience, and your mindset will determine whether you're crushed by the chaos or shaped by it. Every downfall in history has created new beginnings for those who dared to adapt. The question is not whether another crash is coming. It's whether you'll face it blind or ready. The moment to act is now, before the panic, before the headlines, before the fall. Build your resilience, strengthen your habits, and protect your focus. When the world shakes again, you won't just survive, you'll stand tall while others crumble. Because the truth is simple, you don't beat the crash by predicting it. You beat it by being prepared for it. Don't be one of the many who lose everything. Be one of the few who use the storm to rise.